guys, I watched the most amazing interviews I think I've ever seen in my life on YouTube about drug addicts, and honestly, man, it's hard to find words. I've been still processing it from last night because I wasn't typing it, it just came up on YouTube, you know. The algorithms have changed now, so sometimes it puts up stuff you didn't even type in for. So initially I wasn't going to watch it because obviously it can be heavy sometimes, you know. I've done so much inner work, sometimes you're just not ready to watch something about things that are sad and tragic. So I was like, let me have a look at this, because the thumbnail looked interesting, and it had a picture of like a person, and the thumbnail was done so well. He's a professional photographer, the guy who runs the YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link if you guys want to check it out, it's your choice. That the thumbnail spoke to me, if that makes sense. Like the body language, it intrigued me. Because there's many stuff on YouTube about gangsters and mafia and crime families and so many podcast stuff, but there's something different about this. So I clicked on it, I was like, let me just hear this. And the way the guy does the interviews is like, kind of like the setup I've got, right? Where he's not in the interview, he's behind the camera. And what makes it so authentic is he never interrupts, he doesn't speak much. He gets the people that come on, all of them that I saw had some kind of drug addiction, right? And he lets them tell their stories. It's amazing how he does it. It's like therapeutic. And first thing I want to say is, always a little bit reluctant to talk about these topics because I don't want to offend anyone who might have an addiction, and I'm clearly not, right? First of all, when I was watching, I went for a range of different emotions. The first emotion was just, it made me want to cry. Like the compassion, what some of these people have been through is just inhumane. And if you're any kind of decent person, which I know all my followers are, I'm hoping most of you are good people, right? I want to say all, but I don't know if that's going to be true. If you've got any kindness in your decency or values, you can't help listening to the stories. You know, there's some young girls, young guys, older people. You can't help, excuse me, to feel compassion and sadness for what they've gone through and what they're going through. Regardless of the opinions and judgment people have got on people that are drug addicts, and there's so many different factors, which is why I didn't plan to make this video on it. I never thought I'd make a video about this, right? It's affected me, and you go through different things. I suppose everyone's going to go through it. You feel lucky to have the life that you've got, to not have a drug addiction. You know, even though we're all addicted to something, right? I know my addiction is definitely sugar, and that's something I haven't really had the courage to. I have admitted it to myself, but not fully. See, the denial, never admitted it on the YouTube channel. So I really appreciated the courage that these. I'm not just gonna say drug addicts, because they're people, they're human beings, and they've got more courage than certainly a lot of people have, to be so open and honest and vulnerable about all of the things that you've done that you're ashamed of, or things that have happened to you. A lot of things that happened to them weren't their fault. You know, a lot of them got abused growing up, you know, sexually abused and physically. It's heartbreaking. So I watched one and I just couldn't help it. I watched a couple of others, and there were different people on there, and you know what's crazy? That could be me, that could be you. They're just so normal. And when I mean normal, I mean, you know, growing up, we can't help it. We do get conditioned by society. We have certain ideas about, you know, how a person would be, or, you know, if you don't have social anxiety, and I told a person I have social anxiety, I've battled with that all my life, they might have their prejudgments about that. That's a human nature, to judge you in a certain way, or see you and think you're stereotypically like this. When in reality, if they took some time to get to know you, their perception could really change quickly, and they could realize how similar they are to you. So watching all these people, I realized, God, they're just like me. That could have been me. You know, I was only a couple of choices away in my life. I was only a couple of choices away from taking hard drugs in several occasions in my life. And if I'm being honest, and I want to be honest, I have used drugs in my life. I never had a real addiction to them, and I don't use drugs anymore, but in my 20s I used them. So it's very hard to, even though people do it sometimes, they get frustrated with someone who's a drug addict. It's very easy to judge them and say why they're doing it or why they're bringing it, you know, causing pain on themselves. But when you sit down in the way that this guy who's set up this YouTube channel, and I believe he's doing a good thing, that he's raising awareness on drug addiction, and not just drug addiction, really about childhood abuse. It really it makes you not want to judge anyone for that matter. But it's human nature, right? We all do it. People judge me online, and they don't even know me, right? But I'm not going to complain about that, right? It's kind of small. So there was just so many different ranges of emotions, and you know, there was one guy on there. He was 48. He was a black guy, and he's so intelligent. Like, he was talking about his journey through life and the things that he's been through and the things that he's learned. But I mean, I listened to him speaking for 45 minutes. I didn't even lose concentration. I was just glued to because of the energy, because of how honest he is about what he's been through. And it's very, very rare that you get that type of energy from people, because I have to say it, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, right? Most people are not honest. They're not honest about who they are, you know, what they've been through, like completely honest. And these people were, this guy was, and he was just, and it inspired me. Like, I feel really, really emotional now talking about it. They all inspired me. Every single one of them inspired me. And I'm not just the obvious thing, what probably a lot of you are thinking right now, or maybe you're not thinking it, that's my own paranoia. It's not like, oh, they inspire me to think, oh, I'm not going to want to use drugs, if not, I'm not going to want to use drugs. They inspired me to be more honest in my life, and to encourage people more, and to never give up, because some of them are on different parts of their journey. I can't even speak about this stuff, it gets me so emotional, but just to see the courage, and I have to be honest, it made me feel, wow, I can do more. I need to face more fears. I could be more open. I can help more people by speaking up. And that's what they did. And I've never seen a format where, because I've seen tons of documentaries on crack addicts, heroin addicts, addiction. And I think the reason why I've been fascinated, as most of us are, in these things, is because growing up, it was around me as well. It was around my era, and I forgot that sometimes. You know, when you watch things and you forget, I was like, well, I grew up around drugs and violence, and I dabbled in them myself. But I was always very aware. I was afraid, and I still am, of hard drugs and the dangers and the consequences, and seeing. But you know, just so many things go on when you watch it, and not all of them. On the YouTube series, some of them you could never know that they were drug addicts. You can't tell. They were so handsome and healthy. Some of them you could tell. So it's like, you can't. What I realize is you can't generalize. You can't just think, oh, if someone is a crack addict or a heroin addict, that they're going to not be intelligent, or they're going to be from a certain demographic. Or no, it was people from all walks of life. White people, black people, Asian people, old, young, and you know, I really mean it. I'm not being cheesy. They were just nice, good people. They're just, some things happened to them that weren't fair. You know what I mean? And that's where you start understanding. You understand more, because it's easy to go, you shouldn't take drugs. Everyone knows the consequences are bad. It's like, well, they're the obvious things, but when you understand the pain that these people are in. And it makes me feel like, wow, I was quite lucky growing up. Yeah, I went through stuff, things that weren't nice. I went through bullying, but I didn't go through that. You know, I didn't go through sexual abuse, and some of the violent abuse that they've been through and being taken advantage of by family members. And it's like, wow, you know, sometimes we complain about how hard our life is and we don't have that, and then you see the extreme. And I didn't know about this place in California called Skid Row. So it was these people, it was American, they were American, it doesn't matter if they're American, I'm just making a point. So it was like, and then I started thinking, I went deeper and I was like, oh my God, like I've lost some of my best friends to drugs, some of my friends, which is just heartbreaking. I've never spoken about it. I'm not going to mention their names or their information out of respect to them, family, but one of my closest friends is a drug addict, and I kind of, you know, it's not like you forget that, but you kind of don't put the pieces together, if that makes sense. There's the light in here, sorry. Make sure that the lighting's good. It feels like the lighting's wearing out. So it really affected me in all kinds of ways. I know, and a lot of them had been in and out of prison, and just seeing, there was a couple of girls on it, man, and it was hard. They were just so lovely. It was heartbreaking to see what they had to go through, you know, to go out and sell themselves on the street to make the money. They were being mistreated by pimps. Oh, it's just like, man, this is like, I just had to say, please God, this has got to end for them. No one deserves this. And I know, of course, you know, you have to take responsibility as well. And sometimes people are scared to say that because it's like people don't want to upset someone or trigger people that have gone through that. So obviously that has its place, but I don't know how he gets them to come on camera and testify their stories. They're not forced to do it; they want to do it. But the courage, the honesty. I thought my videos were honest, which they were, but this is like a different level. You know, we've all got things about ourselves that we don't want to speak about, we don't want to be honest about, but it really did. Like, I didn't watch that and feel like, oh my God, there's no hope for him. I actually watched that thinking, I had a good feeling for all of them that there's hope for him. Please God, like God will, if there is a God, and I believe there is, even though I have my doubts, I've got to be honest, that they will find peace, you know what I mean? They will get their justice, and obviously they've made mistakes, they've done things that are wrong, as a consequences of the things that have been done wrong to them. But then we've all done things wrong. Everyone's done things in their life that are bad, that are wrong. So that, you know, everyone deserves to be forgiven to a certain extent, I think. But it's challenging, really challenging to watch, and I'd never planned to watch it. You know, I was watching films that were I was just watching different stuff, and their stories are so captivating, and like I said, they're so human. And there was another guy on there who was extreme. They're all intelligent, but really intelligent guy. He didn't look like he used drugs, and then he opened up about his problems, and he come from a good family. And that's the thing, not every single one of them come from broken homes. Some of them came from middle class families, wealthy families. So it's just all different walks of life, different colours, backgrounds, different classes, but they all had that like one thing in common, that, you know, they were dealing with some kind of trauma in the past, and they'd found themselves in a situation that they didn't want to be in. They'd made certain decisions, and just to be, you know, and they made me so much more aware of how dangerous drugs are, because I knew before, but I didn't. You can always learn more, right? And they were talking about the highs of heroin and crack. So I appreciate I'm getting all this education for free. They didn't teach me this in school. They may have said don't do drugs, but they don't go into the effects and why they're addicted, and so open my mind up. And of course, I have to mention it. I'm passionate. Part of my platform is mental health. You know, a lot of them, some had mental health problems. But yeah, just to see the comment section, how encouraging. It's really heartfelt stuff. It was I've never seen anything like it. Still processing it. Watched quite a few of the interviews, and they are so raw and real. And whatever you're going through, if you watch that, you can't help to feel very, very lucky about your situation in life, you know. And also to feel, you just feel a connection with all of them. And and they were so talented and so charming. But that doesn't take away the fact that just because someone is good looking, charming, intelligent, which all of them were, and they had normal lives at one point. They were married. Some of them, they had families, they had kids. So it's not like you're not just born a drug addict. Circumstances happen, things happen that were wrong, that weren't always their fault, abuse, and some of their own decisions were obviously their fault. They did things that were wrong, and then all of a sudden, over a period of time, they found themselves in a vicious cycle, living on the streets, being homeless, having to sell themselves. And I was like, God, man, that's like someone's daughter. You imagine your family, your brother, and I'm sure someone on my channel has been through that. And it kind of breaks that naivety, because I have a little bit of that, and I sometimes think that's my defense mechanism, to not have to deal with the darkness that goes on in the world, because we have to deal with our own darkness. But it certainly took me out of my selfishness as a human being, which we all have, everyone has it, and educated me more on the matter of homelessness, drug addiction, abuse, mental health. It's and the guy's right. There needs to be more done about these things. Even though I know a lot of people do it, we still need more help. There needs to be more awareness. There needs to be more help for these people. And they were getting help. Some of them were improving, which is really nice. And I just, please God, man, I hope anything that I could say, anything that I could do, could help any of these people. And at the same time, I really want to make it clear that I am certainly not coming from any type of judgmental place, because it made me realise in my life the mistakes I've made. I'm proud of myself that I've been able to address a lot of them, but there's still things I've done that do sometimes bother me and haunt me. And it made me aware that, okay, I'm not addicted to hard drugs, but I have addictions in my life and I don't feel good about it. I know being addicted to chocolate and candy and sweets is not the same as being addicted to heroin, but on another level, in a way, it still is as bad if it's something that's not making you feel good. And I do have an addiction to sugar. I've had it all my life, and those people that came on have inspired me to talk about it, and I'm battling it every day, because it doesn't always make me feel good. It's not good on health. Look, we all have an addiction. We have addiction to social media, negativity, but of course, it's not affecting me as much as crack and heroin, which I knew a little bit about. But these people really going into great detail on the drugs, the effects. I'm now educated more on the matter, and that's what it's about. That's why I think the guy's doing a good thing, because he's educating people on a matter that a lot of people don't have education on. We just know the obvious bits. Oh, he's a drug addict. He's going on the streets. He's begging for money because he just wants to feed his addiction. And that's just like, that's part of it. But there's underneath that, there's what's happened to the person. They were normal once. They weren't always like that. They didn't want to be like that. A lot of them said, I never imagined myself being in this position. How many of us have been in our life? I've done things in my life, and I'm like, I never would have chose that for myself. I can't believe I've got into a situation through bad decisions or weakness or doing wrong, or sometimes other people doing wrong. So I couldn't help to think of God when I was watching this stuff. It did bring up forgiveness, healing, and stuff like that. And I was close to tears, man. I was close to tears, and I just and what's sad is, I don't know how much of they're being strong, how matter of fact some of them were, and it's just sad, man, seeing people so broken. But at the same time, in many ways, they're way stronger in a different way to me and you, in that they could be so honest and vulnerable and about all of the darkness they've been through and things. And how many of us can do that? Most of us can't. But yeah, I think I really do feel some good things will come to them because of putting themselves out. One guy's even like, I was just going on YouTube, and he was a bit, but they did it, and it's for a good cause. And look, I never would have known about it, and if I didn't make the video and share it with you, so I am making a difference by bringing awareness to it, and I do care. Sometimes I do care about people. Sometimes we don't realise we care about people until we really see the severity of their suffering. because obviously sometimes you're human, you're not going to care about everyone, especially if people are doing horrible things and being evil and being bad. But somewhere deep down, we all care. I hope to believe that. I know I do. I know you guys do. How I was brought up. I can't just see someone like that and be so selfish that I can't feel compassion or feel sad or want to help them in some kind of way. And when I think about it, in central London, I can't believe the homelessness, how it's just increased over the years. I've noticed it. And I think that's the thing, guys. I don't always talk about everything that I feel on the YouTube channel, and I've got my own reasons for that. Sometimes I feel I shouldn't. There's certain conversations I should keep to myself. But there's another part of me that thinks, oh, is that you not facing your fears, Johnny? Are you protecting yourself? Are you just want to talk about the good bits? Because it's easy to talk about good bits and positive things and get so much love and support. But there's a time, and I'm going to be honest. I didn't know I was going to feel that way, but it made me not. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. Actually, I wasn't. But when I saw what they went through, like I know I went through what they went through when I had the mental breakdown. I've been in that place of complete despair, and I wasn't taking drugs. I took medication. They were prescribed drugs, but I wasn't taking hard heroin or crack, thank God. But when I was in hospital, there were people that were crack users, and I met one guy, and he was such a nice guy, so nice to me, and I wouldn't have been able to tell, and only because he told me that he had a problem with crack, and he obviously had mental illness. So it's like I didn't realise how close up I've been with people that have had addictions and problems. I didn't realise it, I'm human, right? Because I've got my life and stuff, family, and I do live a really positive life in that regard. But to think that I've been so close up, and they've been friends. I've had friends, one of my friends, a couple of my friends who are drug addicts now and not in a good place, and that has affected me deeply. So I resonated with it. I really did. Whether I liked it or not, whether I wanted to or not, I couldn't help it. I had no choice, and it inspired me. All of them inspired me, and I pray to God, man. I pray that they get clean, they get the help, because they can turn it around, because many people have done it. And the comments, there were a lot of people saying, I used to be on drugs, I got clean. So it was all about the inspirational message. I'll be honest, I'm going to say it as a Christian, it was like hope, faith, you can get clean again. Whatever you've been through, you can overcome it. Some things that people go through is not their fault. No one chooses to be sexually abused by their parents. That's the last person that you should do that to you. That's the people you should trust and love. So that affected me, and I felt lucky that I had a good family growing up. Things weren't perfect, but none of those things ever happened to me. So I don't know, man. It was I needed to do a video and put this out. I feel like I had to do this, and that's what stories is about. It can change someone's life. And sometimes I think we're selfish, right? We're all selfish because we won't put ourselves out to help so many other people because we don't want our feelings to be hurt. But that's not right, I don't think. If you want to be a better person, why should I sit here, I'm just talking deeply, over the years and not open up about my issues, my struggles with mental health, and how I've turned it around in many times in my life and succeeded, and times when I haven't succeeded, or things that I'm embarrassed about, I don't want people to know about me. Why should I not open up and tell everyone about that if I know that could change someone's life, it could stop someone from committing suicide? And Teddy Atlas said something great. Great character is going beyond yourself to help another person, and that means you suffer. So look at what it's done to me. It's inspired me. So I don't know how this is going to affect you guys, but it was really hard hitting. And it made me feel grateful, and it gave me a lot of strength, and I was like, wow, these people they've got it in them, even though some of them are in a place of weakness, their growth, they've got through some spiritual growth that many of us maybe won't have to, because if they've been through darkness. But the light at the end of the tunnel for everyone, I believe, please God, alright?